of giving and receiving, understanding that kindness illuminates every soul. We affirm the power of love to heal, to unite, and to transform. May our homes be filled with warmth, laughter, and harmony, embracing all who enter with open arms and compassionate hearts. Grant us the wisdom to see the beauty in diversity, to cherish each unique soul, and to foster understanding amongst all people. Let peace reign in our conversations and empathy guide our actions. We affirm abundance for all, extending our hands to uplift those in need. May the hungry be nourished, the lonely find companionship, and the hurting discover solace in healing. We celebrate. May our spirits be lifted, our faith strengthened, and our connections deepened. May the light within us shine brightly, touching lives and illuminating the path toward a world brimming with love, understanding, and goodwill. With gratitude for these blessings we've received and hope for the blessings yet to come, we affirm the season of joy, unity, and profound love. In awe and gratitude, we embrace the light within and around us, knowing that we are instruments of peace and love in this world. So be it, and so it is. Amen. Now, if we could please say the name softly for all the people, pets, or groups that we would like to send love prayers to today. I invite you now to gently open your eyes and join me in our December community prayer. In the quietude of prayer, our minds still, our bodies relax. We open to the presence and the power of God, to the peace of God, which surpasses an understanding. From this awareness, we embrace these words, I am calm and peaceful. We are assured that God will guide our hearts and minds. In Jesus' name. Amen. I'm Pam McHugh, and Shannon and I will be in the prayer sanctuary after service for supportive individual prayer time. And if you are looking for a spiritual way to start your day, join us for the 8 o'clock prayer call, where we join in community with our congregation for a 5 to 7 minute prayer time together.
Hello, my friends in Westlake. It's Daniel Nahmont. Hey, we know each other a lot better than we did a couple months ago before my visit. I loved my weekend with you, I just want to say. So I'm very glad to be with you again this weekend, at least to sing a couple songs. It's not quite as rewarding as being there in person, but hopefully you'll enjoy my contributions today. Songs about love. Well, I wouldn't say it's my specialty, but I would say it's definitely an area of focus or emphasis for me as a songwriter and as a singer. I thought I'd start with a song that I actually, when I wrote it, I didn't think much about it. I put it on a little cassette, remember those? And forgot about it until a friend of mine was listening back to my cassettes just for fun while she was hanging out with me in my house, in my apartment at the time. And she said, Danny, I like that song. And I said, yeah, I kind of remember writing it. She said, you should try singing that out in public. See how it goes. I bet you that's going to go over well. And it turned out to be, to this day, one of my most popular songs, most requested songs, one of my songs that's sung the most around the world, to be honest. And it says something that I think is a little sneaky simple, in that its song is called "Love Is My Decision," and that sounds like a Hallmarky thing to say, really, a very simplistic thing to say. But the truth is that we are confronted with that decision every day, all day, really. And we're confronted with that decision to make around our families, around our coworkers, in traffic, in politics. We are confronted at the grocery store. We are confronted with friends and with not so friends. We're confronted all the time with the question of, will we not be perfect and not be saints and not roll over, but will we decide to be a little nicer than we have to be a little sweeter, a little kinder, a little more forgiving, just a little? Will we be a little gentler with somebody, a little more compassionate? So Love Is My Decision is not about being perfect or batting 1,000 at deciding to be loving, but it is about making the decision on a daily basis to give it a shot. And like I say, imperfect is a par for the course, but it is about taking little steps and doing the best I can. So I want to invite you to sing with me if you feel like it. If you don't, no problem. I'll still be singing it over here. But here we go. A song called "Love Is My Decision" from way back around 2000 or 2001. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give up my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start, can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. All right, here we go. Love is my decision. It's up to me. It's up to me to stand on that bridge, to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive, can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, to change my mind, God will show me how. God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Right here and now. One more time. Ready? Love is my decision. It's up to me. It's up to me to dance down that road, to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load, can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, and God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. My decision, right here and now. Nice job singing. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. let's begin with just a brief meditation to move into our spiritual energy even deeper. Relax however you like to relax. Just try to get your body to be kind of invisible so you can focus on the vibration of your soul. And see that light, that perfect and pure white light of Christ, right above your head in that highest chakra. Brilliant, bright, white, pure, cleansing, ultimate, unconditional love. And just allow your consciousness to see that light just sinking into and vibrating through your whole being, nurturing you, loving you, forgiving you, bringing you whole. The universe is energy. And that white light of Christ is the vitalizing energy for all life, all movement. And it is what we are composed of. In our essence, we are simply energy. If we look to the smallest, we'll see that we are actually just a collection of fundamental particles organized in a most amazing way, built of dust, not just any dust, stardust, matter created in the explosions of novas and supernovas, finding its way with the guided intentional energy of God into being us. Yes, we are simply energy until the breath of God enlivens that dust with soul and with consciousness. And then we are the expression of that breath. We are the expression of God. So let's just take a moment or two to sit in the luxury of our awareness of that wonderful higher consciousness and that beautiful, pure, vibrating white light. I trust that you can feel your heart opening wide and expanding, ready to accept, willing to accept, and anxious to share the energy of love. I'd like to close the meditative time with an affirmation from Cora Fillmore, from chapter 13 of the Life Conserver Energy. Jesus Christ is now here, raising me to his consciousness of everlasting life, and I am filled with vitalizing energy and power. Amen. Just gently and kindly let yourself come back to the room and give Marilyn an opportunity to bring up the spiritual practice. We'll just start with practice right away because we need a lot. Or not. Or not. So, actually, it should be kind to others. But you can be kinder, as Daniel mentioned, a little nicer, a little gentler. I love how he and I are resonating on this point today. I love him. Such an inspiration. And it's so perfect. Love is my decision. And so we're going to talk about how to strengthen our deciding powers today. So be kind to others. It's simple. And it's really important to focus on the second part, which is to be even kinder to yourself. Because it is when you are feeling whole and loved and secure in knowing your true sense of being that you're able to share, because your cup runneth over. You know, it's always easier to give things away when you're full. You know, it's like, I can give you the dessert after I've been to the buffet. It's like, I couldn't eat another bite. And so really, that's why we want to focus on tuning into the love channel. Because in order to be kinder to others, we need to fill ourselves with the love. So what is this love channel? So I have an interesting relationship in my own spiritual practice with the Bible. I always come back to Marcus Borg. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Marcus Borg, but he's passed to the Rainbow Bridge for Humans. But he is a religious scholar, and he's created a lot of books. Like, for example, this time of year you might read the book called The First Christmas, and he'll talk about all that. And but the thing that he says somewhere that resonates with me is that if I can give up my attachment to the Bible being literally true, I can begin to appreciate the profoundness of truth that's there. And, you know, sometimes we make the Bible, you remember when Moses left all the people down in the valley and he went up to the mountain and had a conversation with God? And eventually he's going to come back with, well, according to Mel Brooks, he came back with 15 commandments. Then he dropped one. He's like, oh, gosh, 10. I do love Mel Brooks. But while he was gone, what did the people do? You know, well, in the absence of leadership and guidance, they created an idol to worship. And again, I don't really think that story is literally true. And yet, I see in the way we operate how susceptible we are to creating idols. Because in the absence of something, we'll find something and we'll put our energy to it. And sometimes those idols are things like politicians, for example, or certain material things that we covet. And we end up loading a lot of energy into that. And I think the Bible runs the risk of being an idol. Because way back when, whether it was Moses or whether it was Abraham or Noah or Adam and Eve, supposedly way back when, God was way more accessible than he is now. Like they could just they were on the bat phone, you know? Yeah, what's up? You know? And I always chuckle when it was funny. You know, God's all-knowing, all-powerful and all that, and he comes to the Garden of Eden and he says, where's Adam? Like, come on, you're pulling my leg a little here. I mean, doesn't he know? How can you know everything and not be able to find Adam? So I'm a little irreverent, possibly, but I bring these little points up to say that let's not fall over ourselves taking the Bible too literally. Having said that, I want to read some things from the Bible. I'm not Bible-y much of the time, but I want to talk about the love channel. So I'm going right to 1 John. It's my favorite verse. God is love. But I'm going to read the context around it. So I'm going to start chapter 4, 7 through 12. Beloved. Oh, by the way, I read from the New Revised Standard Version for those that it doesn't change much from even good old King James. But. Beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love. God's love was revealed among us in this way. God sent his only Son into the world so that we might live through him. In this love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be the atoning sacrifice for our sins. Beloved, since God loved us so much, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God abides in us, and his love is perfected in us. So God is love. So simple, right? And yet so complex. I mean, love is not simple. Anybody care to argue? Yeah. In fact, I did a talk last year. I think it was here maybe, but I think there was I'm sure this is not the complete list, but there's like 11 different types of love. You know, we've got eros, we've got agape, we've got filial, and there's a bunch of others that I didn't even know until I started researching for the talk. So I think of love like Eskimos think of snow. Like, I've heard they've got like 50 different words for snow. Somebody told me that's not actually true. But if you walk around in the winter wonderland, you can see that there are a lot of different types of snow. There's big fluffy snow hanging on pine boughs. There's sort of that frozen, refrozen, scratchy. I mean, there's a lot of, and I think if I'm an Eskimo and that's my milieu and that's where I live and that's where I have to express myself and live and survive, I got to understand the impact of different types of snow and how I got to respond to it. So we're not Eskimos. Well, I'm not sure. Any Eskimos here? In fact, again, as I continue to learn, my current understanding is maybe the word Eskimo is not even an appropriate term. So forgive me for that. I'm a child of my upbringing as I try to learn and expand my consciousness more. But we live in the world of love. I believe that my existence is evidence enough of God's love. How did the miracle of me happen? And when I say me, you think you, which means me, to you, right? So anytime I say I or me, you just think it's you, which means you. Isn't it fun? I so enjoy being here. I love being here, actually. Different kind of love. That's one kind. So, I read that verse, and right away I got a couple of problems with it. And I want to go on a whole other talk to talk about the problems I have with that verse, but I want to bring it back to love. So this whole idea that Christ lives through us and that God sent that Son to atone for our sin. Okay, what does that mean? I don't buy that story at all. But the only sin is the turning away from God. To me, God's like the sun, always there. But I can go stand behind a tree and be in the shade. The sun's not quite as bright, the vibration's not quite as strong. So I can try to ignore the sun. I can go hide in a cave, for example. Seems like a lot of the people that write Revelation hide in caves. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe you should stand in the sun and let the bright white light of truth and purity perceive what you're telling people. But we don't even need prophecy, because the future we can predict by creating it. We create our future. By the way, wasn't a prophet some people might think of Peter Drucker as a prophet. He's a business consultant. He's a genius in his field. But he said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Like there's no predetermined outcome. Other than the statistical probabilities, if you throw a bunch of things in place, there's definitely things that might happen, right? So, I mean, we as a human nature are heading toward a certain thing. And Charles Fillmore talked about that in terms of what he called race consciousness. Now, that word triggered me when I first heard it. I thought, what's he talking about? Because that word race gets used in a lot of different ways in our milieu, if you will, our environment. But he's talking, my interpretation of what Charles was saying is he's talking about collective human consciousness. And so he says, the purity of God vibrating through us, we should live forever. Charles was determined that he would. He didn't. But that doesn't mean the idea was off. It just, he would say his imperfection in aligning with that Christ energy, with that loving vibration. Because that's where regenerative life comes from. And guess what month it is? December. And guess what the energy, the power of December is? Life, regenerative life, life conserver, Cora called it. Any guesses what the color is? Red. How convenient. How convenient that, not convenient that I'm wearing it. I did that on purpose. But how convenient that red is so much the color of Christmas. So everything's in harmony, I guess, about that. But I want to talk about the saint that we associate with regenerative life. Everyone knows who it is, right? Judas. Is it awkward to talk about Judas in an honorary way? Not in this crowd, probably. But he's anathema. Am I saying that right? Anathema. He's persona non grata. in a lot of, I sort of think it's funny how a lot of certain types of Christians, they don't like Judas. He's a bad guy. He's the villain in the story. It is a story. But anyway, the same way that the Jews are also bad, right? Because they killed Jesus, some people say. Talk to Mel Gibson. This doesn't make sense to me because first of all, we all know Jesus was absolutely a Jew, okay? So there's no idea of a Christian for like another 70 or 80 years when some of the people started calling people in Antioch and those regions Christians and, everybody's a Jew. And they're all looking for the Messiah to come. Still, the Jews are. I'm reading a book right now called Rebbe. It's about Menachem, I forget the middle name, Schneerson, and he's this huge energy. He's also over the Rainbow Bridge, but he was a big impact in the Orthodox community, and everybody's thinking he's the Messiah, But way back when, 2,000 years ago, a few people said, oh, we found the Messiah, it's Jesus. I lost my train of thought. That's okay, it's going to come around again. I want to come back to the whole idea of Jesus. Maybe it's not where I was going, but it's where my notes are saying I should go next. So Abraham. So while I was, when I got introduced to the idea or the legend, the myth of Rabbi Schneerson, as they call him, the Rebbe, and now I'm reading a book about his life, it's very interesting how much he's encouraging people to do what? Be kind to others. So much of that, and we even call that the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. But again, I've mentioned it before, I'll come back to it a little bit later. We really want to focus on moving to the platinum rule, which is to treat others the way they would like to be treated. But in order to do that, we're going to need to tune into the love channel. I'm going to get more to the love channel in a moment. I want to talk a little bit about Abraham, because Abraham's the father of the big religions: Islam, Christianity, Judaism. probably never lived. But we're just going to go with the story, because when I was in this very sacred experience a couple weeks ago, where I was at a Shabbos, had an opportunity to lead a workshop that was built around a Shabbos experience. So we're doing a lot of heavy emotional work, but also a lot of spiritual practice as well. And I was an observer to most of it, but during the Shabbos dinner, the first big dinner of the Shabbos, one of the learned people stood up and gave a little talk about Abraham. He did a beautiful job, and he shared some information I was unaware of. What you're aware of, I bet, is that God, on the hotline to Abraham, said, yeah, you're great, and I promised you the world, and I changed your name from Abram to Abraham to put the energy of God into you, and that you're going to be the father of all nations. But in the meantime, I'm not quite sure if you love me enough, so I want you to take the son that you waited over 100 years to have. He's a teenager. They're tough, so I'm going to help you here. And I want you to take Isaac to this mountain, and you're going to build an altar, and you're going to sacrifice your son to me so that I know you love me. Y'all heard that story before? It's interesting. Again, literal truth, I'm not sure, but is there some profound truth in it? Sure. Anyway, we know what happens. Isaac lives. And some poor lamb or sheep or ram ends up taking his place as a surrogate sacrifice. What I learned about Abraham, because when I read that story, it's pretty cut and dry. Okay, God, I'll do it, and you don't really see Abraham other than this absolutely devoted sheep. But now, I don't have access to the information because my version of the Bible doesn't have any information about the emotional connection between Isaac and Abraham, but I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to my Orthodox friends since it's their heritage, it's their story. And what he shared was, even in the midst of the highest honor that could probably befall an Orthodox Jew, the opportunity to show their devotion to God by giving them to God the thing most cherished by them, Abraham wept. He wept for his son. I believe that. If the other story is true, I believe that part's true too, even though they don't mention it in chapter 22 of Genesis. Because we can't get past the human part of who we are, which is love. And that whole concoction, whatever you want to call that story around Abraham, that's the first covenant. Because of Abraham's devotion and loyalty, God promised him the world in return. And so, what are we celebrating in Advent? We're celebrating the coming of the new covenant. Some people try to tell the story that the new covenant is just an analog to the first covenant. That yes, God stopped Abraham from sacrificing his son, I guess to appease God's needs. But God went the extra mile and sent his only begotten son to atone for us. I don't see it that way. I don't think that's even necessary. So what we're celebrating, what the new covenant is what Jesus said, which is that love each other. Yes, love God. And what does loving God mean? To me, loving God is opening up the love channel. The Christ is the living Spirit of God. And the living Spirit of God is what vibrates through us, as us, and from us. Everything that you see and experience in this universe is born from the love of God. That vibrational energy of giving and creating. Creation comes from love. That's why it gets a little uncomfortable talking about Judas, because he's the bad guy and all that. But also, Where is the energy of Judas? It's right here. It's in this, a lot of schools won't even let you talk about the sex organs, right? Why do we feel awkward about that? Maybe you don't. I don't think we need to. It's like, this is where the passion, this is where the energy, this is where the miracle of life that we truly don't understand, it comes from here in a material element. But it's more than that because, sex is a physical act. But love is a state of consciousness. And I don't care how your parents were. Maybe they were the most loving and intentional people on the planet, and maybe you just think, maybe they just met at a bar one night. I don't know. There's a lot of range. The stuff can happen. But what I choose to believe is, even in the most tawdry example, life comes from intention. Life comes from a higher consciousness. And maybe it's beyond our ability to understand exactly what's going on. It may look pulpy. It may look wrong, and it may look lofty and high consciousness, but the bottom line is life comes from love. And you are a product of love. And you are an example of love. So what we want to do is channel into the love channel, that higher vibration energy, remembering who we are. So be kind to others. Be kinder to yourself. And now I want to give you part 2. Especially be kinder to yourself when you've found the awareness that you've been unkind to someone or something. Because that's the moment when you need the love channel the most. Because what are you going to do? You're going to feel like you sinned. You're going to feel like you did wrong. Because you weren't perfect, as Daniel Nehemiah said. You weren't perfect in that moment. And you're going to do what? You're going to beat yourself up. Not necessary. That's the moment when you need the love channel the most. Let that pure light vibrate in you and know that, yes, you're imperfect. Yeah, you're probably screwed up. It's not what you've done that matters. It's what you're doing. And if you're in that low vibrational energy of shame and guilt, it's so hard to have your cup runneth over and be loving to others. So that's when you got it. So in the most spiritual level, the love channel is that new covenant. Jesus came not to be a surrogate sacrifice so God could be okay with our badness. He came to be the sacrifice of risking his life, which he did, and we killed him. Because we just probably couldn't take that much love. Because we were so in our vibration of not being able to handle the way we were. Whoa, dude, that's a little too much. You're going to blow the whole game. So we got him away. But guess what? You can't kill it. You can't stop it. Because love is everlasting. And Christ lives everlasting in us, with us, through us. So that's the high watch of the love channel. But I want to just talk for a moment or two about kind of the more mundane. Because you try loving people, and right? I mean, you try loving people. So first of all, I want you to give yourself the benefit of grace. Because how in the world can you be expected to express and demonstrate unconditional love when you may not have ever experienced it yourself? Or not much of it. So I go to thinking about the unconditional love of God, or if I get dyslexic, the unconditional love of dog. But I was thinking about that because a lot of us will say, and kind of tongue-in-cheek, but is again, may not be literally true, but there's still profound truth in the unconditional love of dog. all right? Because that's the best I've gotten. I gotta say, Nikki's pretty good, but I mean, she's been the best for me, and I've had so much love, so I'm not complaining. But the dog, you got to work really, really hard to discourage the love of a dog. And by the way, though, well, first of all, I just wanted to say as a caveat, I'm not really a cat person. I love cats. I don't currently live with a cat. I've lived with cats. You may have the same experience. So if cat's your medium to the love channel, I'm good with that, but I'm going to talk about dogs because that's what I know. Hard to discourage the love of a dog, but you can do it. Hard to discourage the love of a child. When they're born, they're perfect. We teach them. I've met dogs that are afraid. I've met dogs that run away because they've been abused. Sometimes they've been abused so much they become cruel. Be kind to others. You don't know what they've been through. You just don't know. We need to share the love channel to bring that light of Christ so people can find the space to be okay, to find a little bit more love. But on a lighter note, teenagers. You got to tune into their channel. Again, this is where I'm coming back. Sometimes I say I'll come back, and I forget to come back. I'm coming back to the platinum rule. Love people where they're at. Because sometimes we just feel like we got so much love, we need to share it, and by God, I'm going to share it the way I want to share it, and you better love it. Try that with a 15-year-old. Love requires humility. It requires empathy. I even thought of the letters. L-O-V-E. L, listen. And look. Don't just think. I mean, the thing is, we're struggling to get that feeling of love and wanting to share it and be good at it. And we're finally like, oh, I found it. Here it is. And then we're looking for that reassurance. Kind of like Abraham's God. He needs so much reassurance. You don't need that, though, because Christ doesn't. Listen and look. Oh, open. Be open. We know what we know. What can we learn? What can we see? Be open and be on purpose. You know, just don't love indiscriminately. Love with intention. If you look for love, you will find it. If you look for the pathway or the channel for love, you will find it. So listen, be open, be on purpose. Veracity, which is just a fancy word for truth, right? Look for the truth. The true truth that comes from the heart, that comes from our Christ consciousness. And then E, effort. Love, as I said earlier, it's not what you've done, it's what you're doing. But what you're doing is really going to be a symptom and an outgrowth of what you're being. So you work on your being with that love channel through Christ. That's where we do prayer, we do meditation. And then it'll show up in your doing. But doing takes effort. You know, even enthusiasm. But again, we come back again to also empathy. So when you're trying to dial in your love channel, in the big, big world, so, you know, sometimes we talk about big T truth and little t truth and unity. I'm talking about big L. The big L is the love channel where you're bringing the awareness and the knowingness and the lifting up of the Christ energy in your soul, in your consciousness, and knowing that you are a child of God and an expression of that God, which is love. But the little L is, how do we do that on a day-to-day basis? We got to tune in. I got to tune into your love channel. And I don't know what it is. So I got to be patient. I got to be kind. You're never going to go wrong with being kind. If you listen, you'll find it. And you know what? You might try a couple things. They might not go right. Sometimes love for a 15-year-old, or in my case, a 17-year-old, it's just knowing how close to get. You know, sometimes we think a hug is love, and by God, it's good. By the way, I won't be hugging after the service because I'm just getting over something. I don't want to share that with you. That's another form of love, by the way. Boundaries, right? So we could talk for the rest of the day about all the nuances of relationships and how love shows up, but what I'm saying is the little L. I don't know how to make it. Here's a big T, here's a little T. How do you make a little L? Okay. All right, thank you. But look for the love channel in your relationships. Start by listening, staying open. Try to get to the truth. A lot of times we pretend, other people pretend. We've made this whole game out of pretending. Boy, how about the freedom to just be able to be who you are? Boy, that's love. And that's what I'm trying to do with my 17-year-old is support the heck out of him. I would never put him on an altar and sacrifice him. That's why I don't like that old story, because I love God, but really? That's crazy. So, but I also know that he's got to be him, and I got to give him that space. And you know what? Sometimes people do things, and we're like, wow, if we loved him more, we could have prevented that from happening. You're fired from that job because that's not kind to you. And that's what I want to finish with, is how important it is to be kinder to you. Because as you nourish yourself, it's like being on that airplane. Put the oxygen mask on first. As you're kinder to yourself. And here it comes, Christmas. The vibrational energy of the planet is up. There's a lot of things that don't look like love going on. All the more important to be kinder. Yes, maybe it won't change what's happening in Gaza, but maybe it will. As Daniel says, one thing I can do now. But start by risking loving others, and when it doesn't go quite right, don't judge yourself. Love yourself even more. Merry Christmas.
There's one power, invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power, indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. As simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angel's wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. We speak so many languages, of different clothing, different colors, different names. But different is only dangerous when we forget that in the heart we're all the same. And we'll remember once we close our eyes to see that such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, or Jesus, or Lord. Call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem, or heaven's door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul, or it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth, or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, yeah. One power is what we are. It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby, the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon, for it's love that's most deep. It's one power. Oh, what we are is it's the power of the love that lives forever in you and me. It's the power of the love in you and me.
This morning's service has been filled with prayer, meditation, music, and message, all inspiring you to be filled with faith and peace. In this consciousness, we turn now to the spiritual practice of generosity as you share your financial gifts. With faith, we give joyously to our spiritual home. In peace, we know that our gifts return to us in ways we cannot fathom. God is the source, and we are the channel that sustains Unity Spiritual Center. Please bless your offering as we affirm together. Knowing God is my source, I count my blessings and spread joy.
And as the ushers come down and you donate, please stand and join in singing We Three Kings. We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. On Bethlehem's plain, gold I bring to crown him again, King forever, ceasing never, over us all to reign. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Glorious now, behold him arise, King and God and sacrifice. Alleluia, alleluia, earth to heaven replies. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
Please be seated. We dedicate these gifts and prayers to the will and the way and the work of the living Christ, moving in and through this ministry of love to transform planet Earth. We are so grateful for the center and all of the individuals who support and care for Unity Spiritual Center. Amen. With peace and faith in our hearts, let us joyously share our search team affirmation. All together, with open minds and hearts, centered in God's love, empowered in the truth that we are one in spirit, I am gratefully aligned with the higher consciousness of our new minister in divine order, and all is well. As a spiritual practice of tithing, Unity Spiritual Center gives a portion of our offerings to several organizations, including one we pick each month. This month, we'll be giving 2% of our offerings to Laura's Home. Affiliated with the city mission, this Women's and Children's Crisis Center is a bridge to stability and self-sufficiency. Throughout December, we are also collecting new and gently used women's and children's outerwear, which will be donated to Laura's Home. For more information, please take a flyer or speak to Linda Schultz. I was also reminded to remind everyone about the Cookies and Community event we have after service today, so be sure to stop by for some fellowship and cookies. And don't worry if you didn't bring any, there's plenty, so come and enjoy. We hope that our time together today has inspired you to share the faith and peace of this wonderful season within our community, as well as the greater world. Unity Spiritual Center Westlake offers many different ways to practice our spiritual principles and deepen our connection with God and each other. Consider joining us for one more of the following gatherings. Our Christmas community lunch is this Tuesday, December 19th at noon. We'll be having turkey with stuffing. Please bring a holiday side dish to share. Be sure to sign up at the office. This Thursday, December 21st, from 6 to 8 p.m., we'll be having our Winter Solstice Labyrinth Walk, which will celebrate the natural world. Indoor and outdoor labyrinths will be available, and also hot chocolate and goodies after your walk. Join us on Sunday, December 31st, after service for a community game day and potluck to celebrate the new year as community. We will have several types of games and also looking forward to other people bringing favorites with them. We are asking for registration to get an idea of what food will be available, what games you will want to play. And you can talk to Terry Brewer about that. Our healing circle is at 12:30 after today's service. Please join us here in Unity Hall for Reiki, prayer, and meditation. And now I'd like to call Greg up to the platform for an announcement.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just wanted to give a quick update on our One Heart, One Home mortgage repayment plan. As of today, we have received in donations $81,585. I exaggerate, $584.52. So I wanted to say thank you very much to everyone who has donated so far, and we're still hoping to receive additional donations to reach our goal of $150,000 to pay towards our mortgage principal. Please give of your heart as generously as you can. We're looking to complete that by the 15th of January. And also wanted to remind anyone who might still be willing to be a lender to the church to please contact me. Thank you very much.
Take a look at our website and you'll see that there are many ways throughout the week to expand your awareness, connect with our community, and have fun. And if you're new and would like more information about us, please take a welcome bag from the foyer. Next Sunday morning, our prayer chaplains are presenting a special Christmas Eve service. And that evening at 7 p.m. is the Christmas Eve candle lighting service, when you can enjoy the music of Eric Fincher. Please stand as we sing our closing song. Then go and be the light.
I am the light of God, I am the love of God, I am the power of God, I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. You are the light of God, you are the love of God, you are the power of God, you are the